Oh, hello there once again, and here we are. It's the B-Wise Chronicles, isn't it? My loyal, handsome sidekick, Alan Rees.
Be wise and be wisdom.
That's right, and behave as well. And what was the other?
I didn't sign up for that.
Oh, what was the behave and be? Was it? Do you ever stop it and tidy up?
I remember that, but there was another one, behave or be banned.
Ah, I think the two B's in stop it and tidy up would behave and be quiet.
All right then.
Yeah, I have fond memories of Stop It and Tidy Up.
Stop it and tidy up. Hang on. Is that a cartoon?
Yeah, and there was one of them was blue, the other one was red. It had a theme tune, which was just like, and all the characters were like named after things you tell your children. So stop it.
Oh, that was uncanny.
Thank you very much.
It's like speaking to Jones from Police Academy.
Go on, duck, because you think it's a machine gun. Ah, fooled you, Alan. Anyway,
Was it Jones? Yeah, I think it was Jones.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, we're not talking Police Academy, although that's another thing we might get to at some point. That's definitely nostalgic, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
But today we're doing a couple of toy soldiers.
Cue the song. I can't remember who sang it. Matika.
What's that? What's that?
Matika did Toy Soldiers.
Now it's your turn to sing, go on. What's that then?
It says Toy Soldiers a lot.
All right.
I mean,
I was thinking of the Stiff Little Fingers song, but that's Tin Soldiers, isn't it?
That's Tin Soldiers, yes.
Because I thought actually I would start this show by singing that, but then I realized it's not Toy Soldiers, so that idea went out the window.
Absolutely, that would have been a bit of a fart in a lift then.
Yeah, that would have looked. We looked really stupid, but as is, we look way cool, so it's all right.
There's a couple of Toy Soldiers, but hang on, let's see.
Hold it up closer to the. This is blistering viewing for our. Yeah.
No, do you not remember that came out? That came out. Hang on, I'll give you the information now. Hang on, when was it? Info. No, fuck. No, maybe not. But
anyway,
I thought
this exciting section of the show will be back next time, in which Alan gives us no info about the song that we can't hear. I think it's a good addition to the show. It's growing organically this season.
Do you not hear it?
Not really, not well, no.
Not well. Okay.
But I am aging. So that
Pardon?
could just be, I am aging, so that could just be me. Yeah.
Pardon?
Right. So, Toy Soldiers. So
indeed.
So I was a little bit I was misled. So we're talking Toy Soldiers from 1983 and Toy Soldiers from 1991.
Absolutely, yes.
One of these I'd never actually seen before. I'd never seen the 80s one before. Had you?
No. And I don't know if I will ever watch it again.
Right. Well, we'll get to that. But so the 90s one is the one we know about, is the one we saw when we were, well, maybe children or early teenagers on. Where did we watch this together or separately? Was this, I feel this was definitely a video watch for me.
It was an absolute video watch, and I was thinking about it earlier, and we probably watched it. Came out in 91, video would have been 92, 93. But back in that time, there wasn't any kind of movie shows doing trailers, etc. So you'd either have a trailer for a film. Maybe if you went to the cinema, obviously you have the 3 or 4 before the actual main event.
Mm.
Or I was thinking about it, it would be like a rental video and you have the couple at the front.
Yeah, or
I remember the thing that attracted me to this one, which it's all about the artwork, because back in the day, you'd go into a video shop, there'd be 10s, 20s, hundreds of videos there, and basically you have to figure out what the film's about just by a picture on the front. Maybe a couple of clips at the back and the synopsis, etc. But I remember the artwork in this one being very elaborate, cool. Well, for someone who's 12, 13 years old, I was like, oh yeah, this is something definitely you want to watch.
Do you remember if we did see this together? Because I have a feeling this might have been a rental from when the Carpenters, which was a pub in the village, so it's still there, but it's got a different name now, and they don't have videos in there. I think this might have been a Carpenter's rental.
I think it's almost definitely a Carpenter's rental, and I think we watched it at Daniel Thomas's house.
Yes, shout out to Daniel Thomas. Yeah, you might be. I get that feeling. But speaking of, you were saying about trailers and stuff. So the other thing, which I remember being I felt very chuffed and special to have discovered it, was the cinema show, or whatever it was called before that. That was on very late at night on ITV, and it was basically the setup of the show was they'd have a puff piece for 2 new releases. One of them I remember being Speed, actually.
No. Speed would have been 95.
No, yeah, but it was later on.
Oh,
yeah,
right. Okay.
That show was running for years, so you'd have the puff piece for the upcoming. It's basically they'd show the trailer and then some making of or whatever, and then you'd have the countdown of films in the US, right? And in those days, there was always quite a big gap between US releases and UK releases. So
yeah, there was always 2-3 weeks, maybe.
Or more months. So I remember being quite smug, being a weekly watcher of that show. I'd tape it off, and then I would know all the films that were coming out like months later in the UK.
Yeah, but the trouble is with those shows,
I was like this. I could see. I was the Nostradamus of films. Yeah.
But the trouble is with those shows, and I know I equally watched them as well, but they were always hosted by some fucking over-enthusiastic asshole who was there just to be quote-unquote famous or trying to be a presenter rather than actually knowing what was going on.
Oh, they weren't informed film shows at all. Like I said, it was all puff pieces. There was never any...
No, I know, but yeah, it was painful to watch sometimes when this unknown mark was trying to, they'd always try and interview somebody from the film, or there was always at the junkets, and guaranteed they were probably the tail enders of the junkets, and they were just thrown in and asking, did you enjoy making the film? Or that kind of nonsense. Yeah.
But it was good. It was good to know what was coming up. And but I can't remember. I'm pretty sure Cinema was the second name this show went under, and before that it was called something else, like America's Top 10 or something like that.
Maybe, because otherwise the only option we had was fucking Barry Norman.
Yes.
So, and he was as pompous as they came and would poo-poo anything that wasn't, highbrow. Yeah,
he wasn't, he didn't like much, did he?
Well, he liked the sound of his own voice, I think, more than anything else.
Although I think he was probably, I didn't see much of it, but I think he was probably a better overall host than Jonathan Ross was later of film.
I don't know. Jonathan Ross is good in his field. He loves manga and obscure stuff. He's not like run of the mill.
No, that's true. I share a lot of things that he likes, but I just remember him being very positive about some films that I remember thinking, okay, we actually need, we need someone like Barry Norman now to tell it like it is, because this is just rubbish. Like, yeah, there was one extreme to the other. Let's put it that way.
Yes, yes,
We needed
indeed.
to create a hybrid Barry Ross.
Barry Ross, like painting a review.
Yeah, yeah, but not touching children and ending up in jail later.
Well, did he do that? I think we're digressing now, but
Okay. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but
I'm talking about Bob Ross, the fucking painter over here with the afro, and everyone is beloved. He's a beloved artist over here.
all right. I thought you were Barry Rolf Harris.
Oh well. Okay, yeah, there's Barry Rolf Harris or
Good old
Barry
BRH. Anyway, we are drifting from
Absolutely.
yeah. So let's go. So yeah. So I was all for some reason I got it into my head that the toy soldiers that we saw was kind of not a remake exactly, kind of like a bit of a rip-off of the earlier film. That's how I got it into my head. And then when we were talking about doing toy soldiers, I think, well, why don't we do the two of them? Turns out
Yeah.
that's actually not the case.
It's a lot of bollocks actually. But
Yeah.
when you're saying a rip off, the 91 version gave me a lot of Die Hard vibes.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, well, let's do them chronologically then. Let's do the 80s one because they're kind of interesting because I think they straddle, like you said, by the time 91 comes around, it's a Die Hard rip-off. But this earlier film is in well, it predates Rambo First Blood Part 2, and it's
Right.
probably from around the same time as Missing in Action. But I guess the one that people forget about that kickstarted this kind of let's get our boys back kind of subgenre, which we talked a little bit with Let's Get Harry before.
Yes.
Was Uncommon Valor, right? The one with Gene Hackman training kids to go and get some POWs back from Nam.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember that one. Every time I think about Gene Hackman, I think about was it POW 42 or whatever, where he goes down and he's behind enemy lines.
Bat 2-1.
Bat 2-1. Yeah, there we go.
Although
POW I was there
41 was a noble attempt.
Yeah, you call where I was throwing,
Yeah. Bat 2-1, and I get that a bit confused with because I think was there a tank involved. So there was that other one, the Beast, right? The tank.
No, but with Bat 2-1, Gene Hackman is the guy on the run, and then 30 years later they remake the one with the fuck's his name? Gene Hackman was in it. It was
all right.
Owen Wilson.
Yes.
Owen Wilson one.
Behind
enemy lines. Was that it?
Yeah.
Behind enemy lines, maybe. But anyway.
And also, I get a little bit confused with Best Defense. Remember that one? Dudley Moore and John Candy, and there was someone out in the field, and they were back in kind of HQ and trying to. Anyway,
Dudley Moore was always behind enemy lines trying to find a chicken. Anyway, that if you didn't watch the fucking that's the Tesco commercials from the late 90s when he's always trying to find fresh. Anyway, let's move on.
How late 90s? Because I don't remember that. Had I buggered off to Japan at this point? Because I don't.
No. It was Dudley Moore going around France trying to get fresh ingredients for Tesco, and he was always trying to find chicken.
So in this setup, Dudley Moore is no longer a beloved pianist and actor. He now works as a ingredients
sourcer. Yeah, he's a product sourcer around Europe.
Tesco.
for Tesco butchering the local language for comedy.
Was this a Christmas? Was this a festive?
Not festive per se, but I'm sure they ramped it up leading up to the festivities. Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, that was interesting little not dissection. Yeah. Anyway, tangent. Right. So
Absolutely.
talk about this fucking Toy Soldiers then from 1983 or 4. And this begins. So Jason Miller plays Sarge, right? The ex-Marine whose job is to, well, he seems like a chauffeur or something for
Rich kids.
Yeah, a rich girl in particular played by Terry Garber, and she wants to go out with her college friends on a yachting holiday around Central America. So
Yes.
Sarge is tasked with looking after them while they all get pissed, basically.
Absolutely, yes.
Doesn't look like much of a fun job.
Well, no. But what have I seen him in before?
Jason Miller, I suppose, would be most famous for being Father Karras in The Exorcist, right?
There we go. Right. Yes.
So they pull the kids, including a young Tim Robbins. Quite surprising to see him in this kind of role, isn't it?
Tim Robbins and the rich cousin were the only ones I recognized who have gone on to bigger and better things.
Who was the rich cousin?
The rich cousin was the guy with the black hair, the one who further along in the film where they're trying to get the rescue squad together, Dobbs into the father.
All right. I think
I can't remember his name now, but
Larry Poindexter, I think.
Maybe, but he's been he was a bit of a journeyman actor. He'd been in a few things. Obviously, Tim Robbins, Oscar winner, Oscar nominated, blah blah blah. So everyone knows who he is. And
was Larry Poindexter? Was he on like a soap or a television series or something like that? Because sometimes some of these people, that's my blind spot. If they were on like As the World Turns or something for 10 years, like they may be beloved. I don't know who they are.
I can't remember now. I can always look it up. But it was he's been in a few things where I think that he acts like a police commissioner and stuff for
right.
He's got that kind of stiff upper lip kind of middle class kind of a guy.
Okay.
Actor, role.
Well, anyway, they decide, the rich kids, to play this hilarious prank, I think you'll agree, where they let loose a little like life raft dinghy thing, and he has to go get it. And meanwhile, they steal his boat.
And after Jaws 2, people think the dinghy, when the Marine's out in the middle of the water, he's going to get
Yeah, and they also throw something. Like he's got some like really precious engraved thing that was given to him at the end of his
like a hip flask.
Yeah, and they just chuck it in the water just to add to the hilarity, just to crank it up a little bit more.
I mean, kids those days.
Yeah. So anyway, and then while they're partying on this boat, the fat one lands on his head, and
it's always a fat one. It's always a fat one.
Gives himself a concussion. So
basically gives himself a bit of a gash on the head. Yeah,
well, apparently it's they have to seek medical attention. So they go
pansy
to land. Jason Miller's still looking for them, so he can't give them any advice. So they go on to land, and they end up getting a lift into a local village by a priest played by Martin LaSalle, who was a the star of the film Pickpocket way back in 1959, which was the film that Taxi Driver was basically kind of massively inspired by. Kind of surprised to see him as in a bit of a nothing role as the Padre, really. But
well, he was typecast as a driver, so
right. So yeah, so he's he takes and then there's some I mean, it's it's pretty thin characterized. They're not. You don't really know what they're fighting for. They're just what Donald Trump would call some real bad hombres, right? Basically, some some South American evil dudes, and that's about all we need to know, really, isn't it?
Evil dude hombres.
Yeah, evil dude hombres, and yeah, they blow up the truck, they kill some people. They're actually referred to as a death squad, right? And they're led by this corrupt colonel, played by Rodolfo de Anda. So that this film is produced. The two of the producers on it are Rodolfo de Anda and Raul de Anda. I'm assuming they're brothers, and they seem to be quite big deals in the Mexican film industry because this was a Mexican-US co-production. So these guys have been either directing or producing or acting in films in the case of Rodolfo, who plays the colonel, since like the late 30s.
It was interesting because I watched the credits at the end, and normally on things like this, especially when we watched, Pow, etc. previously, it was always an American crew going to a foreign place to film. Whereas if you looked at the end credits, they were all Spanish named,
right?
Crew, cast. I mean, the production coordinator, the electricians, the art director, they were all of Hispanic named and origin, rather than Bob Jones, who had flown in from LA or whatever. So,
he's good, that Bob Jones, I have to say. But yeah, I think
he's
in the
solid.
case of Pow, I think if I remember correctly, that might have been as probably the Philippines, wasn't it? I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think most kind of Vietnam-esque films are always Philippines, because most of the films done there in the 80s, I think you can go back and use all the props because they just blew the shit out of the jungle.
Yeah.
Napalmed everything and just left it. So you could go back and it's an active war scene right now.
Francis Ford Coppola set the precedent there, I think, didn't he? It's actually, there's a whole blog on the internet devoted to these films. I think it's called something like "When the Vietnam War Raged ... in the Philippines." It's quite a good.
I mean, as long as they made a lot of money out of it. I mean,
well, the person who does that site, I have great admiration, because I can't imagine. Like, I'll dip in now and again, but to a solid diet of these Vietnam films shot in the Philippines in the 80s, that's got to wear you down, right? To watch a whole bunch of them
and be immersed.
Yeah. But anyway, so yes, so this film's an odd it's an odd mix, isn't it? The tone. So when this death squad takes them, and there's a little bit of gratuitous nudity and threatened with rapes and stuff like that, and I thought, oh, here we go, this is going to be quite good, strong exploitation fun, I thought. But then it kind of never really goes for it, right? There's not really that much in the way of sexy stuff, and the violence isn't particularly gory. And then every now and again, you have really quite stupid comic relief, right?
Yeah, there is that.
The tone is fucking all over the place.
It's non-committal to any kind of, because normally if you're making a film like this, it's either going to be a 15 or an 18, but but a lot of it it was flirting with like a PG rating, except for the nip shot or whatever, when she was raped,
right,
or attempted or whatever. But it was one of those things where it was either they edited it badly for the age group it was going for, or just they wanted a little bit just to, probably for the what can I say? For the trailer, maybe they just needed a little bit just to entice people to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was an odd one. It struck. It reminded me a little bit of some like Crown International or someone like that, like drive-in pictures from the decade previous, where they threw in a bit of everything, but kind of, yeah, like you said, toned down a little bit for, I don't know. It's odd. With a, yeah, strange. Like, it's 83, 84, so we're still way in that time period where that stuff would have still been more than acceptable, right? You could have had a whole lot more nudity and violence and dodgy stuff. But yeah, it's odd.
And when it came to any kind of sexual deviance, in a way, it was almost flipped into a comic, or I'm going to try and entice the guard, for example, by performing an act, and then all of a sudden I'm going to pop him in the scrotum,
right.
And then it was almost Carry On-esque then.
Yeah, there was another bit as well that I thought was particularly silly. It did actually make me laugh, where again that weird mixture of sort of Terry Garber's character hides herself in the coffin with a dead priest on top of her, right? And for a while you think, oh yeah, this film's actually going quite gritty, and she has to do this kind of horrible, stuff just to survive. So you got that. Well, first of all, it starts lighter, actually, with the yacht and the rich kids. And then it goes, you think, oh, it's getting more gritty. But then in the case of that scene, you're thinking, oh, she's there with... And then she manages to escape by pushing the body out ahead of her when they're trying to bury it.
Doing a cartoon ghost noise.
Yeah. And then the two gravediggers are like, oh, be about there! And they run away, right? So, yeah, it's... I have to say, it's not unentertaining. I didn't find this film boring. It was kind of all right.
If it would have been any longer, it would have been painful.
Yes.
Okay, painful is the wrong word, but anything more than 120 minutes or 120, and basically would have been like, no. Yeah. It was at points, because of the way I was watching it. The timer was at the bottom. I was, I'd find myself glancing down and go, how much of this is left?
Because mention as well, yeah. So turns out Jason Miller and his partner Cleveland Little are convinced to go back in and rescue, as well as Terry Garber and Tim Robbins and somebody. They decide to go. They're the toy soldiers of the title, right? The other thing as well, it struck me, there's a scene in it, like, I don't know how to articulate this, but you'll know exactly what I mean. There's a something in the 80s we grew up with. There's a whole bunch of action moments with wisecracks attached to them that become like the memes of their day, right? So I'm thinking of Commando has a couple of them, right? Like Radar Chong using the missile launcher and then saying, I just read the
instructions. Yeah.
Or let off some steam, or these kind of ones. And there's one in here, right? I was thinking, if I saw this when I was a kid, I would probably remember to this day someone banging a grenade launcher out of anger and saying, Japanese shit, and then and then I was thinking, oh yeah, that's another one of those, right? If we'd have seen that when we were kids, we would probably still say that, right?
But it's also funny, but again, we're alluding to, like, there's a rocket launcher. and the rocket launcher fails to fire the rocket.
That's
so the
right.
rocket pops out and hits the ground. Where basically, a little bit of knowledge. That's what explodes when it hits the ground. So why did it not hit the ground and explode?
Yeah.
When these guys are fucking around with it.
Also, I don't think in 1984 or even today, I don't think Japan is actually a huge manufacturer of grenade launchers and weapons, as far as I know.
Well, they were until this film came out, and they were like, "Oh, well, everyone's going to quote this as Japanese shit now, so we can't."
Right, yeah. To put the kibosh on that. So, what did you make of Toy Soldiers 83 upon your initial viewing then, Al?
I don't want to be harsh on it, but it once for fun, I don't think I need to go back to it again.
No, I agreed. I'm glad to finally seen it, just to sort out that the later one isn't actually a rip-off of it or anything like that. What do you think? If we'd have seen this back in the day, do you think we would have? I suspect we might have enjoyed it a little bit more.
If we would have watched it at the same time as what we did the other Toy Soldiers, I think I can quantify as a 12-year-old boy, I think we would have enjoyed 10 minutes of it, as in the alluded sexual activities of certain characters, but even the action was below par.
Yeah.
I mean, the story, as you said earlier, the story is akin to First Blood. It's also it's been done so many times on different kind of subtext or whatever, but it was just, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the budget was, for example, and to compare it with that, and then 10 years later, the budget of the latter and the entertainment value of it.
Yeah, well, they're chalk and cheese, really, aren't they? And it's just for some reason, our fault, really. No one, that for some reason, just because of the title and a slightly similar setup, somehow we thought that there was a connection between the two, but there isn't even a slightest bit, really, is there?
What we alluded to before when we were talking in the last time in the lead up to this, and I'm going off memory now, and The Rescue and Toy Soldiers 91 are very much more similar than Toy Soldiers 81 and 91.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we'll be getting to The Rescue maybe next time, I think. So, you lucky consumers of YouTube content will get to hear us talk about that. What a treat!
And I'm gonna say the treat was 91 Toy Soldiers.
Yes, let's move on to that then.
Didn't really. I had a vivid imagination, a remembrance of how it went down, how it looked, how it felt to watch it, etc. And when I watched it yesterday, it basically, I didn't deviate from what I thought then. It was very much, it wasn't like a melancholy or this was better. I think it stood up more than what I was anticipating it to be.
Yes, agreed.
But I enjoyed it nevertheless. And there were some big hitters in it, actually.
Yeah, I remember this as well, because I didn't necessarily recall it as something amazing or anything, but I just remembered it being quite good entertainment, and especially for teenage boys. And that's exactly what it still is. It has held up well for what it is, right? So this one is
If I remember, and also if I remember, it was the film that was so to paint the picture. It was in the Carpenters, the pub, and it wasn't an elaborate display like you'd imagine an old 80s, 90s video shop to be. This was just in the back room of a pub, and it was 6 or 7 foot tall. It had probably four across video wise, and maybe 10 high. So you're looking at 40 maybe VHSs in front of you.
well, later
So
on, though,
and
it
it
was
was
a whole wall, right? It was even more than that, I would say. Like it was a
well
whole wall at that point.
so the second iteration of the video wall, it
Yeah,
was the full thing, and then it got to maybe they upgraded and they had then the big standalone plastic monstrosity
yeah,
where a lot of them would face you, and then the ones at the bottom who have been there a while, they would be like bookcase form, so they'd all be
yeah.
soldered
You're
across.
talking about the first, so it wasn't in that. If you remember, the second iteration, like you said, was that wall one. But the first time, it wasn't even in that room. It was in that other room next to it, wasn't it? And it was in like the corner in front of. Was there like a greenhouse or something there as well? And like you said,
Yeah,
yeah,
because it was freestanding. It took less real estate for a word. In basically, it was just like a shelf with a piece of rope or bale of twine going across to stop the videos falling off the front.
mm,
And basically, they were all just lined up. Whereas when this came around, it was the freestanding thing. But I remember every time we'd go in, I'd suggest this one. I was like, no, we're going to go for this instead, like Predator or this was canon fodder for us. This was something, and we're like, oh, fuck, we watched everything else. We might as well watch this one, which in hindsight was probably better than the 10 previous things we watched there. Because I mean, our strike rate there wasn't amazing, as in the quality that was available then, put it like that.
yeah, and just now thinking about it is odd because my memories as well of, because I suppose there's a lot of pubs like, maybe not now, but back then was, so you'd have the two bars basically. There's the regular bar and then the other one with a pool table, and then to go to like the round to the toilets, you'd go into this other big room, which was the one that was later the video wall, and they made no use of that room at all before it was the video. It was just a big room that wasn't used for nothing at all. You just pass through it. And now that it's more of a, nowadays a lot of those country pubs survive as gastropubs, right? They put on
Yes.
very good food, and they do. The Goose and Cuckoo, artist formerly known as the Carpenters, does have very good. Actually, do you know who runs the Goose and Cuckoo now? I think
I know the hen.
Neil Harris.
Really?
I think so. I think that's what my mum told me the other day. He's the new owner of the place, I think.
Do.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, he's good at cooking new, I suppose. But yeah, so now that room is, because I think last time we went there, that's where we ate, wasn't it? That's now
Yeah, it's basically food is the markup on food. That's how you make a living now in those environments.
Yeah, people book big parties, book and come there, and and you still
But
have your regular drinkers in the one bar as well.
yeah,
But
but
anyway, so
anyway,
Toy Soldiers as well. Toy Soldiers 91. The other thing, I might be wrong about this, but I get the feeling Toy Soldiers 91 was one of those films that came and went in theaters, but really found its place on video. I think because it was. I'm trying to think in 91, 90. Yes, we would have had this must have been a 12 in the UK, right?
I think it was 15
Was
because
it?
because they dropped a couple of F-bombs in it.
But this would have kind of been the film I can imagine. I don't think it was in my, but this is, you remember at the end of term where you had like a few days and all the lessons were done?
No. This was definitely a 15.
Okay. But I can imagine it being,
I'm going into my kind of good memory. This was a 15. I think I think 12 didn't come in for a couple of years after that.
I can imagine this being a film that some teachers would have deemed acceptable to show in the last few days of term.
No, this would have been a film they would have shown on a bus going on a school trip.
Yes, all that. Yeah, I mean,
rather than being in the formal school setting, they would have put it on in a bus. Because I've been on some little bus trips. I remember GoldenEye was being shown, and GoldenEye was like a 15.
It is a very specific category of like the other one. I remember the one shown on my school and going to see it 3 times was Bird on a Wire.
Yes, another 15. Yeah.
Was that a 15 as well?
Yes.
Now, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you're allowed to get away with that kind of thing anymore. You know, like, 15, it'll be all right.
Well, it's either that or just watching Toy Story on loop, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I can remember any other films. I remember Stefan used to always bring in his Blackadder videos, and he'd show
15.
them in the art
15.
room. He'd show them.
Yeah.
I remember Schindler's List being shown because that's kind of educational.
I mean, I was probably 15 with just these sniper shots.
I don't know. But yeah, there we go. It's an interesting category of, videos that were deemed acceptable to show on buses or at the end of school term. And Toy Soldiers feels to me like, not in my school, but it feels like it would have been in some schools in that capacity.
This would have been, this is a classic example of a film ticking all the boxes. Action for the boys, uprising for the boys, quote unquote eye candy for the girls. Yeah, I think it had a bit of it all.
Who's the eye candy for the girls?
Well, I think Sean Austin at the time, whatever the fuck he was as well. He was, and then the guy with the earring.
Will Wheaton.
I mean, they were all. Well, was that Will Wheaton?
Oh, Will Wheaton's in it. I can't remember if he had been or not.
No, Will Wheaton's the guy with the asthma, isn't he? Because he was in Adventures of a Babysitter. And
Will Wheaton's basically the other main of the boys. There's 2 main ones, right? It's Sean Austin and Will Wheaton of Stand By Me fame.
Hang on. Will Wheaton, is he the one that got shot?
I only just watched this film last night and I can't remember anything about it really, details wise. Few people.
No, but but the one who got shot, the son of the mafia boss. I don't think he was in. Was he in Stand By Me?
Will Wheaton was in Stand By Me. I don't know if the person you're remembering was in Stand By Me, because the other one is Keith Coogan, right? That's the that might have been one of our shot. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So it's a see, I misremembered this, but I thought for some reason.
Oh no, you are right. Yeah, no, Will Wheaton is the guy that you're talking. Yes.
Okay. I thought my memory was that this was a cadets academy, like West Point or something like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It's just like a prep school for rich kids, right?
Yes. It was like an American Eton or whatever.
Yeah, except I also got the feeling that they're maybe slightly rebellious types, right? Which is why they ended up there, which is why they call themselves the Rejects. And
yeah, I suppose yes.
But basically they come from money And again, some real bad hombres from, in this case, Colombians, led by Andrew Divoff.
Can you say that again?
What? The real bad hombres? Apologies,
like
viewers.
a West Million.
Alan's having a moment.
Oh, it's like me saying jalapeno over here just to annoy everybody.
You think the accent isn't selling it?
No, it sounds it for me, 100%. Okay.
Well, anyway, these real bad hombres are led by Andrew Divoff and take over the school, take hostages. So it's up to Sean Austin, Willie Dunn, Keith Coogan, etc., and of course Louis Gossett Jr.
I was expecting everyone to call him Pappy, but there we go.
Yes, of the Iron Eagle, and me bumping into him coming out of an elevator fame.
Absolutely, he still regales that as the best meeting he's ever had.
I think so. I think so. He remembers. Oh yeah, I remember bumping into that little Welsh fella. What a great day that was. It's basically late. Again, very post Die Hard, right? These kids kind of fighting back.
Yeah, taking the information of the instigators, getting their information, trying to give it to the people on the outside, and then
would that be the real bad hombres you're referring to there, Alan?
Real bad.
Yeah. They're terrible.
Yeah. I mean, they were so bad.
Oh, I don't think I've seen a hombre that bad in many a year.
I mean, since the last time you were in a political battle with hostages.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's not much to say. I mean, it's interesting cast. Denham Elliott. I'd forgotten that Denham Elliott, wasn't it?
He's I remember him. He was a slow burn as well. He was, I mean, let's go with it. It was Sean Austin, however you want to say it. I mean, this was coming to the end of his, because he was in the Goonies previous, and then also was it Rudy as well. And then he did
Rudy.
This.
Who was Rudy?
Rudy was the biopic of the guy who played for the American football team, the college, Notre Dame, and then he was always the trainer but never got to play.
Oh yeah, I don't know this film at all. I've never heard of this.
Well, look it up. It's another feel-good kind of American sports. I think that's probably Sean Austin's most famous role. But by country mile, that's his most famous.
Okay.
Because he basically carried the movie all the way through.
Something I didn't actually realize at all, and maybe everyone else in the world knew this, but I didn't. Looking this up for this chat, was I didn't realize that Sean Austin is stepson of John Austin, who was, of course, the original what's his name? Addams Family, the father.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not Morticia, Gomez. He was the original Gomez. His stepfather. Was Sean Austin's stepfather, John Austin. I didn't realize.
Oh, okay. Interesting. No, I did not know that. He had a very long career too, in fairness.
John Austen. I like John Austen. I'm always pleased to see John Austen turn up in something.
He was always a little comic booky with his expressions, but they always worked.
Well, Sean Austen's kind of gotten. He's a interesting because he's maintained that baby face, isn't he? And he's one of those few who's had a couple of shots at real stardom, right? So he was kind of a child star, and then kind of seems to. I don't know much about him. I don't know anything.
I think he dropped off after this film, mind.
Yeah, no, he did, but he did kind of transition into, teenage kind of for a while, and then dropped off. But then, of course, he got Lord of the Rings, right, and then kind of bounced back.
He got Lord of the Rings, and before that, he had 51st Dates with Alan Sandler. But between Toy Soldiers and that, I can't remember him being in anything unless it was very short, not even a cameo. I can't remember him being in anything. But from being essentially a leading man from his, early teens to his late teens, and then nothing until he was like 40 years old. So either he just didn't want to work in that industry or not, or just didn't get the work. I don't know,
but what I mean is he's kind of. I get it's not stunt. It's not like in the way whenever you see Haley Joel Osment in something now, it's kind of a certain amount of stunt casting. Oh, it's the little Sixth Sense kid, haha. I get, but Sean Austin doesn't seem to have, like, he seems to have he was, it doesn't seem to have been stunt casting to have him in Lord of the Rings, right? It's just
no. He carried his own. Exactly.
Oh,
yes.
no, then. Oh, Frodo. Oh, hey, Frodo. Oh, Frodo. That's all I remember about that. Putting those films together, how long is that? 9 hours or something? Is that
3 hours of him bumbling over his words?
Okay, like the other one. What's his pickle? The one who plays the Hobbit, right? Is Sam. Oh no, Frodo, hey, Frodo.
And then you move on to Green Street, where he did the same time, and then he gets punched in the face several times. You're like, yes.
But there's a lot of that kind of him feeling sorry for himself, him going, oh, and then him feeling, oh, I'm from the West Country, I am, but for some reason I'm here in Middle Earth. Oh, Sam, oh no, it's like that got very annoying after a while.
Got any cider?
Yeah, it was anyway. So Toy Soldiers, I mean, it's all right, isn't it? It's a bit.
I watched it last night, and previous to that, I watched it, essentially 30 years ago. And
I hadn't seen it since it was new, I don't think.
And I will say it obviously was early 90s, but it hadn't that could have been filmed last year, and without the whole kind of the telephone scene where the speaker, etc., and the analog phone, everything would have married to present day, actually.
I mean, you wouldn't have had Andrew Divoff. They would have actually hired someone properly Hispanic. But apart from that kind of thing.
Yeah, but in saying that, he was a little typecast back in the day. He always played, a South American kind of bad guy.
Yeah, Andrew Divoff was in a lot of. I remember Andrew Divoff being a staple of the VHS era. Like, playing very similar bad guys. I always quite liked Andrew Divoff as well. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
this is. I think of Andrew Divoff and I just think of him, doing this kind of thing, right?
The white henchman. I've seen him in things, but I couldn't narrow it down. I'm pretty sure I've seen him in other things, but he was essentially, the right-hand guy who didn't say anything. So his contract said he probably couldn't say more than 10 words the whole film or whatever. But he was familiar. Dimon Elliott, as you said, was familiar. The mafia boss. I remember his name now.
Jerry
But
Orbach.
He's always in, Law and Order, fucking crime thing, and Dirty Dancing, and he was a staple of the 80s as well. He was always in something.
Yeah.
So there were big hitters in it, Lou Gossett, obviously, and some of the kids, like I mentioned, one went on to Adventures in Babysitting, and
well, that would have been before this. That's 87.
Okay, so he would have wrote on the coattails of that. But no, there was decent actors. It'd be interesting to see what the budget was, but it was all filmed in one place, and it didn't feel too long.
I think it was feel a bit too long to me. 112 minutes I thought was a bit excessive for this kind of thing. Could have lost 10 minutes or something, but yeah, not too. It wasn't a tiresome one. Again, it's not like a film like I love this film or anything. Like, it's not my cup of tea necessarily, but being objective about it, like for what it is, it's stands up pretty well. I'm trying to think of another good example of something like this, that kind of PG-13 action for teens kind of genre done well. I'm trying to think what else would fit in this kind of category.
But in saying that, while watching it, I wasn't conscious at the time. I wasn't looking to see how much of this is left. Whereas the other one, Toy Story 84, I was just like, I was looking at it and I was like, well, there's only 20 minutes left, and I know they're going to go rescue these people, and I'm like, how are they going to squeeze this in 20 minutes?
It did take a while to get there, didn't it? It's to be said.
Yeah. And then, but in this one, I felt it wasn't forced. Granted, as you said, it could have trimmed off a little bit, but it felt natural-esque.
Yeah, no, it's a good rhythm and all that. Yeah, so there we go. A couple of toy soldiers, not really related, and that's about it, really, isn't it? Can't think of anything witty or particularly incisive or.
No, it was solid. It was. Are we giving ratings? What do you do now? Do you do the Leonard Maltin kind of rating, or do you do like out of 10?
Well, I don't do that anymore. But we could do it just for a laugh, if you like. We could. All right, let's see. So the Leonard Maltin 4-star. I think I would go. Toy Soldiers 83 would probably get 2. And Toy Soldiers 91 would get 2.5.
Yeah.
Are we in agreement?
Yeah, as I said 2.5, as you were saying that. I mean,
well, hang on. I'll go get it. I'll tell you exactly what, if we're in sync with Leonard Maltin. My guess, I don't know this, my guess is it's going to be
1.5.
Toy Soldiers 83 2, same, but I reckon he gave Toy Soldiers 91 3.
Yeah.
You keep them entertained, Alan, while I question.
Oh, keep them entertained. Oh, I'm juggling. Oh, fuck, dropped it.
They don't make these anymore.
I'm juggling again. Oh.
The Leonard Maltin books, they stopped doing them.
What year did they finish off?
You
got 2013 there, right?
I've got 2013. They went beyond this, but I think it might be one of the last.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still knocking about, but they've stopped doing these, I think. Right, here we go. Toy Soldiers. No. He exact agreement with us. 83 or 84 is 2. And 91, 2.5.
2.5 is solid. I mean, I could have flirted with a 1.5 on that one, mind. On the other. I mean, it was.
He says,
yeah.
For 84, he says, fast-paced but forgettable adventure has a plot resembling High Risk, which also has Cleveland Little in. I don't think I've seen High Risk. Let's look this up then. This is brilliant. YouTube in this is man looks something up in an old Leonard Mountain. High Risk.
Mine reads book.
Preposterous movie about a group of normal Americans becoming mercenaries, flying to South America, parachuting into jungle to rip off dope dealers. And that's just the beginning. And this one's got James Brolin, Cleveland Little, Bruce Davison, Chick Vanera, Anthony Quinn, Lindsay Wagner, James Coburn, and Ernest Borgnine.
Ooh, that's not Skeleton Coast, is it?
No. But,
okay, because all Ernie, he was. But anyway, yeah. But it's very much thinking about that now. That could have been like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando as well, without the action.
Right. I've always wanted to see. There was someone made a documentary film in which they interviewed Ernest Borgnine about his career while riding around on a bus, and it's called Borgnine on the Bus. And I've always wanted to see that just because that's such a good title.
Is there a guy in the back with a moustache going, "Oh, get you, Borgnine"?
Yeah, Borgnine on the buses. There's that. I assume you've seen that famous did you see that when Ernest Borgnine was on, must have been live TV, I think. It's like some morning show or something. And they asked him, "Oh, what's the secret? You know, why are you in such good condition, longevity or whatever?" Have you seen this? And he leans over to whisper in the guy's ear, except he actually speaks directly into his microphone, and he just goes, "I masturbate once every day."
It's longevity.
Yeah, it's good advice.
How it was.
If it's good enough for Ernest Borgnine,
it's good. It's good enough for Jim Lee Curtis.
Yeah. So anyway, right, we're in danger of becoming a couple of them bad hombres, real bad hombres. So we're going to stop now. Right. So this has been the Be Wise Chronicles, and we shall be back next time with, I think, unless we get another brainstorm to do something else, we're on track to doing Zits and the Rescue will be our next double bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
They'll go together, but if you do watch them, you'll get that maybe the pairing would have been better with this one, but yeah, same.
Yes. So we shall be returning to talk about them, and we recommend that you be wise and return to.
Because if you don't be wise, you're going to be bad hombres.
Exactly. And yeah, you'd rather better to be wise than to be a bad hombre, I think is what we've learned.
Pew, pew.
Next time, I'll try.
Take it easy.